watching Decoding Now, and I'm Meghna Deka. Well, viewers, the entire world is asking only one question tonight. What is a ceasefire in the Iran war? Does ceasefire mean missiles raining hellfire? Does ceasefire mean cities being razed to the ground? Precious fuel sites being bombed? Well, for days, the world was told that a fragile truce has brought the region back from the brink of war. But if this is what peace looks like, what is war? Well, tonight we decode the events, raising serious doubts about whether the ceasefire was ever real to begin with. The strikes, the counter-strikes, the celebrations as well, and the warnings, and the blunt intervention from Donald Trump that has added a new twist to an already. Well, let's show you first what happened. We are going to piece it together for you, a timeline of what a truce apparently looks like. Well, the skies over Beirut lit up once again as Israeli warplanes pounded the Hezbollah-linked targets in the Lebanese capital. This is over a day back, sending shockwaves across an already volatile Middle East. While the latest strike marks a dramatic escalation, Israel's campaign against Hezbollah never truly stopped. Even amidst the ceasefire talks and diplomatic efforts, Israeli forces continued launching strikes on Hezbollah positions across Lebanon. This is what peace apparently looks like. Well, there's also sirens which wailed across northern Israel, because in retaliation, well, it was Iran which came to the Hezbollah and Lebanon's cause. Iran launched a missile barrage in retaliation for the Israeli strikes on Lebanon, marking a dramatic new chapter in the region's escalating conflict. Well, Iranian forces claim to have targeted Israeli air bases, including the largest air base in Israel called Nevatim Air Base. You can see the dramatic visuals there on your screens. Absolutely horrifying to see this level. It's not just fire, it's fury. Well, explosions then rocked the Iranian city because, of course, Israel retaliated. Iranian city of Isfahan was set on blaze as Iran launched retaliatory strikes deep inside the Iranian territory, marking a dramatic escalation in the rapidly intensifying conflict between the two rivals. Well, this attack that you can see the visuals of came hours after Iran fired missiles toward Israel. Israel's retaliation came in this form as it bombs Isfahan. But it's not just Isfahan. The conflict surged to a dangerous new level as Israeli warplanes then struck targets in the city of Malad as well, sending plumes of smoke into the sky and bringing the war deep into the Iranian territory itself. You can see the visuals, and remember, these are all civilian areas. These are all areas with civilian infrastructure, all of that going up in plumes of smoke. In fact, the conflict widened dramatically as the Israeli warplanes then struck targets at a petrochemical complex in the Iranian port city of Manshahar, sending towering plumes of smoke into the fire. You can see them on your screens, targeting a key hub of Iran's energy infrastructure as well. And remember, when we are talking about the future of energy, it's not just Iran's future energy infrastructure, it's the energy infrastructure of the world as well, which depends on the oil being produced in Iran. The thousands of Iranians, however, poured onto the streets in celebration. They called it a powerful display of defiance and of national solidarity in the midst of an ugly war. The Iranians came out celebrating, waving flags, chanting slogans, demanding a forceful response to Israel's latest strikes. You can see on your screens how crowds flooded the major avenues as emotions ran high, with demonstrators calling for what may be described as the final blow, they called it, against Israel. You can see these visuals. This is these are Iranians who are coming out despite the fact that 3 of their cities were bombed. Iranians came out and said it's time for the final blow to Israel. So as tensions between Israel and Iran threaten to spiral into a wider conflict, US President Donald Trump is making a direct appeal for restraint. In a brief but emphatic message posted on Truth Social, Trump urged both the sides, in his words, to immediately stop shooting. Again, the question is, who's listening to Trump? Well, viewers, there's also a video that is now setting the social media buzz, posted by Donald Trump himself on Truth Social ahead of his upcoming 80th birthday. Right before the shooting started, you had this video being put out by President Trump. It is an AI-generated tribute that he himself has posted. Remember, it's being posted by his own official handle, drawing in millions of views, sparking off a wave of reactions. There are those who have trolled him for it, those who have said he's drawn the line. Watch how Donald Trump has put out a post, a video AI-generated one where he travels across the world. He's on the moon. He travels across India. He travels on the back of a lion as well as on a Harley Davidson. Everywhere in the world, they love Donald Trump. That's the video which has been posted by the American president. But the question is, do they listen to him? And we ask you this question because another striking moment involving Donald Trump has come during a tense interview which happened with the NBC, one of the news agencies, when the president was pressed about his continued claims that the 2020 election was rigged. In fact, he claimed, remember, in the race where he ultimately lost to Joe Biden, well, as the questioning intensified about what had happened back then in the past election, Donald Trump abruptly then ended the entire interview. He got up, he walked away from the conversation in the middle of this interview. This is one of the interviews of Donald Trump where he says, I've had enough. Many people are reading a lot into it. I've had enough. What does he mean? Donald Trump caught up in the middle of an interview and left. Many are saying he only hopes that this was the situation of the war where he could find the exit, get up and leave. He can't. Many are saying this is a war of choice and Donald Trump cannot find the exit. Is that what's happening? Anyways, let's go across to our panelists to understand what kind of a ceasefire is this. Dr. Vail Awad is joining us, an expert of the Middle East. Ambassador Dr. Jeffrey Gunter is also joining us, a former diplomat of America. I'm going to come across to you first, Dr. Awad, because we are trying to understand the nature of this peace. Peace which defies logic, peace which is peppered with missiles of hell fury, of drones firing. This is not what a ceasefire looks like. Dr. Vail Awad, has the war restarted or did it never stop in the first place?
Well, thank you for having me. I don't believe that this war has started. It is just a tit for tat because that is what has been happening between Israel and Iran. The United States president and the Iranian government wanted to have an end to this war. Both of them wanted to come out as a triumphant of this war. And therefore, that's why the back diplomacy is taking place with the help of Islamabad. And we have seen that there is some progress. Even President Trump have said that. But because we always feel that Israel was not happy with this sort of a deal, so therefore they tried to separate the Lebanese front from the Iranian front. So when he continue an attack on the Dahiya of Beirut, that is the south part of Beirut, then the Iranian have already warned that if you attack, then we will retaliate. So I believe the Israeli attack, Iranian retaliate. Both sides now have declared the ceasefire. It's a fragile, it's a dangerous time. We don't know what could be next, but if the war break up, it will be an all-out war.
But how is this ceasefire if there are missiles flying over Israel, over Iran as well? In that case, Dr. Gunter, I'm going to come across to you. You have President Trump there saying, stop this shooting. You have his frustration coming out in interviews where he says, I've had enough. But the question is, who's listening? Will Netanyahu listen to what President Trump has to say?
Well, I think they're all going to listen to President Trump. Let's start with the Iranians. Why would they listen? Because their Air Force is not flying, because their Navy is at the bottom of the ocean, because their intercontinental ballistic missiles, as well as their drone capabilities, are significantly diminished, and their economy is on the verge of collapse. And the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, is gone. The number 2 guy is also probably in a coma somewhere. So, of course, the Iranians are going to listen. Why? Because they have a gun to their head, and they need to. They don't have a choice. When it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, the reality is the other component of this war is eliminating, from an Israeli perspective, eliminating the proxies, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's Hamas, whether it's the Houthis now who are violating international law and trying to stop, ships going through the Red Sea now, they are a problem. And I would actually even push back on your broadcast, and very quite respectfully, where you somehow said that Iran is defending Lebanon. We've seen a plethora of statements coming out from the Lebanese government basically saying they don't want Hezbollah there anymore. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization that's taken over the southern part of Lebanon and needs to be eliminated. Absolutely.
Now, to start with, Dr. Gunter, I did not say that Iran is defending the Hezbollah. I said that it has retaliated for the strikes on Lebanon, which is the factual position. However, I'd like to ask you, because you said that Iran is fried. Their navy is at the bottom of the sea. They have no air force left. Their number one is dead. The number two is in coma. Of course, President Trump himself is saying that he is negotiating with the Ayatollah. But nonetheless, if that is the case of Iran, then why continue fighting? If they've lost,
why continue the fighting?
Then why continue?
Because you have a regime that's for 47 years been attacking America, attacking the Western world.
But you are saying they're not in a position to attack anymore, despite the fact that they have attacked your alliance partner, Israel.
Well, they certainly haven't attacked them with boats, and they certainly haven't attacked them with an air force, and they have
enough missiles and drones.
Capabilities. And remember, they're terrorists. So if they have the ability to launch a $3,000 drone with some C4 attached to it and attack
Who's a terrorist? Who's a terrorist here?
The terrorist is Iran. It's the terrorist state.
Okay, so regime. You are saying US is officially negotiating with terrorists.
No, what I'm saying is
you know that President Trump is negotiating. So US is negotiating with terrorists.
I'm saying they are a state sponsor of a terrorist of a terrorist country, and it's obvious. I got news for you. The brilliance of President Trump is his ability to talk. He will talk to Pakistan. He will talk to any country in order to achieve peace. And that's where the Trump diplomacy, the policies of Trump are
smart. And perhaps that's what I fail to understand, what a ceasefire looks like. And if US thinks Iran is a terrorist state, then why is it negotiating with terrorists, as you are calling it? Dr. Vehlawat, go ahead.
Well, I believe there is a political insomnia in the American administration, including, for the ambassador with respect to his views, that he knows that the American frozen Iranian assets, ever since the revolution has come, 1979, and they have over the years have made more than $100 billion freezing the Iranian. And they remember that, yes, there was an anti-American, anti-Israeli feeling when the Islamic Revolution has come, but the American also created an anti-Iranian revolution, and they didn't want the Islamic Revolution to take over. So, but remember, despite the fact that we all know that the Contra rebels, and he knows, the ambassador knows very well, that it was the CIA and the Mossad who sold the spare part of Iran to fight the Iraqi war, that they sent Saddam Hussein to fight 8 years with Iraq, and they failed. But they sold the spare part to Iran, the CIA and the Israelis, and yet they continue to have a business as usual. So if the American lost Iran, it doesn't mean that the American fighting the war because of their loss of their own interest. The American is dragged into this war because the Israeli prime minister brought his president into this war. Iran never attacked American assets. It's the American who shut down the Iranian civil airline 1988, and we know what they have given Saddam Hussein, each and every part of the whereabout the Iranian weaponaries, and they destroyed it for the last 8 years. 1 million lost from here, 1 million lost from there. And then he go and invaded Iraq because that's a regime change. So a regime change policy in Iran did not work with the American.
But Dr. Awad, now President Trump says he doesn't want a regime change. He's okay. He's negotiating with Ayatollah.
That is the strategic ambiguity of the United States. First, they speak of the nuclear issue of Iran. Then he spoke of decapitation and regime change. Now he's speaking of blockade and blocking of the Strait of Hormuz. It's a war imposed on Iran by the United States and Israel unilaterally, without any UN sanction, without any UN charter acceptable. How can we discuss these issues in this particular? We are not here to make a propaganda. We are here to address an issue, for a humanitarian issue. People are dying. dying, the world is suffering because American president, he thought that this war going to be like Venezuela adventure where he could hijack and abduct the president and his wife and then continue to do business as usual with the American company selling the oil of Venezuela. This does not happen in Iran. Iran having the strategic bargain chips, which is called the Strait of Hormuz, and they will not surrender it.
But is that fair to the rest of the world? Many would say, Dr. Vehlawat, to hold the Strait of Hormuz hostage in this manner, something that India has very categorically saying that it is not in favor of Strait of Hormuz being blocked for whatever political, diplomatic reasons. India is against that, and that is our official stand. But Ambassador Gunter, I'd like to come to you on that as to what Dr. Vehlawat has said. Did Trump somehow miscalculate the nemesis that Iran clearly is?
Not at all. Absolutely. We understood exactly what was going on. It's been the most successful military operation.
Previous presidents of U.S. did not enter this war.
Well, the reality is this war has very clear objectives from the beginning. And President Trump has said this. Number one, Iran may never have a nuclear weapon, period.
They said it already on the table.
Well, I mean, if you want to let me talk, I let you talk with my esteemed guest. The reality is Donald Trump said that we can never have a nuclear weapon. He also said that the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas will be defeated. We need to have an open Strait of Hormuz, and we cannot have intercontinental ballistic missiles. He hasn't wavered from that in one iota. This is a war of attrition. This is what war of attritions look like. If you want to have a big grandiose battle where millions and millions of people are killed, that's fine. A war of attrition is basically decapitating their political leadership, eliminating their ability to create weapons of war, eliminating their weapons of war, and having internal political adversaries rise. And that's what's going on.
Internal political adversaries, many are saying, are rising in America as well. So you mentioned the nuclear weapons. What were the goals of this war for President Trump when it comes to nuclear weapons? No nuclear weapons in Iran. They've agreed to that, but they've made it clear that they're unlikely to hand it over. When it comes to the Houthis and the Hezbollahs, we know what state it is. If the war continues, one would imagine that they are still there. They still have fighting power. Also, regime change, that is something that he had started with, President Trump had started with. That didn't exactly happening with his son taking over. You said he is a terrorist. Dr. Vehlawat, will this war end? That's just the one question. I'm running out of time, so I'm asking you. Will this war end anytime soon?
If President Trump wanted this war to end, he can end it. And in fact, that is what I've been saying. But he is under tremendous pressure. He has already ended many wars. In fact, he started this war. He knows how to end this war. He can tell both Netanyahu, stop, it is over. He had a heated argument with Netanyahu last week, and he told him we have to reach to an agreement. If that agreement is being reached, then Netanyahu will be sent to jail, and President Trump will continue to be in power till he completes.
But even Iran isn't listening. Even Iran isn't listening to President Trump. When he says stop shooting, it's not happening. That even from Iran, you've had...
You must understand one thing very important. The blockage of the Strait of Hormuz is the consequences of the war of the United States and Israel on Iran. The free trade, the free maritime movement was there even before the war. Even Ambassador agree on this. He knows very well this. But the problem now, the things have changed. The paradigm of the war have given new doctrines for Iran, bargaining chips. But if they sit across the table with the American, I'm sure they reach. And let me remind the ambassador, finally, the ambassador of American Gunter. Ambassador, you have more common ground with Iran if you have taken the issue between you and Iran to the common interest for Iran. America was there during the Shah time, and you know it very well.
All I can say is that if you're talking about common interest, it is in no one's interest to have this war being drawn out. Be it from Iran's side, Israel's side, or American side. There are important elections coming up in your state.
Americans forever. Iran has been killing Americans for 47 years. So my esteemed guest suggesting that America has anything in common with the greatest terrorist state in the world is purely ridiculous. But I'm truly honored to be on the same panel with them. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to have both your voices here, because that's what we are hoping to have. The voices of all the nations being put together, at least that we can come to the negotiating table. If this is peace, well, it's a bit of a sham of a ceasefire, but we hope that we together, via discussion and dialogue, come to this kind of an agreement, even when it comes to this war, isn't it? Thank you so much, Dr. Vehlawat, for joining us. Ambassador Jeffrey Gunter, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. With that, we wrap up Decoding Now. See you again tomorrow, 6:30 p.m., right here on Times Now.